Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology and leading literate lives. We talk all things books and reading and notebooks and writing, mixed in with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. You can expect regular weekly episodes focused on 3 books you need to know about on a bookish theme and how to bring those themes to life in our actual lives too. You can also expect author interviews, notebooking inspiration, and topics to help us grow through what we go through and take inspired action to make our lives better. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Get Literate podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, who's always excited to chat with you on how reading and writing can make life better. I'm here with a nice hot cup of coffee to dive into all things notebooking with you today. But first, I want to talk just a little bit about reading. Over the last couple of weeks, we really have focused on building the best summer reading life ever. If you haven't listened to those podcasts yet, I highly recommend you do. They are quickly becoming the most downloaded episodes in Get Literate history. You might want to take a look at episode 126, where I talked about the Get Literate Summer Reading Challenge. Definitely a challenge that is unlike any other reading challenge you have seen this summer. Episode 128 talked about 10 steps that you need to take today to make sure that you have the best summer reading life ever. And you could also go back to episode 124, where I talked about the trouble with the TBR. And if you listen now, you can make sure your TBR is cleaned up in time for a beautiful summer reading season. So I thought I would start with a little bit of a check-in. How's it going? How is your reading life going? Did you start your Get Literate Challenge? Are you reading your first book for June, where we are focused on becoming the person we want to be by reading a book? I'm curious. My book for June was Sandwich, and I am happy to announce that on the day this podcast will be released, it will be that book's book birthday too, so I can finally start reading it. But in the meantime, I will say that I have read other books that are helping me embrace the fun spirit of summer. I read Party Girl by Rachel Hollis, which was just so much fun and introduced me to the world of her narrative fiction writing. And I also read The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. And let me tell you, this book was right up my alley. A quiet, extroverted book person who loves her rituals and routines, gets the shock of a lifetime, and the book chronicles what happens after that. It was fun, it was delightful, it was funny, and I just didn't want to let those characters go. So I'm really happy to say that my summer reading life is off to a great start, and I hope yours is too. But as I promised in a recent episode, we are going to talk about our writing lives as well. Because a summer reading season that is slower and filled with more reading also equates to a summer writing season that is slower and could be filled with more writing. Now, in my experience, it is much harder to get a notebooking or journaling or writing, whatever term you want to call it. It's much harder to get a notebooking habit started that stays strong than it is a reading habit. There's a whole bunch of things that go into this, but it could be the fear of writing certain things down on paper for others to see. It could be self-doubt, wondering about your writing skills, if that even matters. It could be that you are worried about who might see that notebook. You're worried about criticism. There's so many things that we could worry about when it comes to our writing life. And I have found that most people are willing to consume other people's writing and enjoy it. But when it comes to creating your own, even if only for your eyes, oh my gosh, your worst critic just comes out and sits on your shoulder. But I would like to change that. I would like to change that because writing has so many benefits, health benefits, brain benefits, emotional benefits, just like reading does. But they are a different set of benefits. And so writing for writing's sake matters to our health and well-being. And if we were to layer these writing episodes on top of our reading sessions, my goodness, could you imagine the ways that we could change our days? So let me tell you about those benefits, because I have found that if you know the why behind something and you can get behind the reasoning, then you are more likely to give whatever that thing is a try. You're more likely to find time in your day for it. You're more likely to value it. So the benefits of writing, there's many. Let's start with the physical benefits. Just like reading, a session of writing physically calms you down. It lowers your blood pressure. It lowers your heart rate. It puts your system into a calmer state. Now, it may be because your hand is moving across the page in this left to right meditative fashion. It could be because you're just sitting still and staying still. But we know that it has physical benefits that can be measured that calm you down. We also know that writing can help us have better sleep. Yes, because if we are taking these moments during the day to calm ourselves down, then our system is more ready to calm down at night. But if we do some of our writing at night, especially the kind of writing that supports our mental health, like brain dumps and gratitude lists, we can really get a much better night's sleep. But the things that I was most excited about when I went deep into this research was that writing can actually improve our liver function and our immune function and how our bodies work. It's researched. It's true. And if you're looking for some way to calm yourself down and to help restore whatever physical aspect of your body you want to restore, writing has been shown to increase the functions of the body. I was especially interested in this as someone with an autoimmune condition. Now, moving on to cognitive benefits, again, like reading, these are the ones that people typically associate with reading and writing, but we know that writing keeps our memory sharp. If we write something down, we have put it into another modality that helps it stick. And if we write by hand, especially, we get that tactile, kinesthetic movement across the paper. That's when we really get those memory-based benefits. So it helps us retain knowledge in the short term, but it also helps us keep our memory sharp and those brain synapses firing in the long term. And beyond that, it helps you find your voice. You can take whatever is on your mind and heart and get it off onto the page. And when it's there, maybe you want to learn to up-level your writing and add certain skills to your writing or try mentor craft moves. If you do, of course, those cognitive benefits are multiplied. But what's really exciting to me, as always, are the emotional benefits. Writing has been shown to strengthen your emotional health, to help you regulate your emotions better, to manage your anxiety, to reduce your stress, but also to boost your mood and your happiness, especially if we are working with gratitude practices. So there are different kinds of writing, different kinds of journaling, different kinds of notebooking, whatever term you want to use, that can help us do those things. One particular kind of writing better helps manage anxiety and stress. A different kind of notebooking or writing helps you boost your mood. But regardless, the simple act of putting pencil to paper and moving your hand across the page, it has these amazing emotional benefits, with research even showing that it helps people cope with depression. And we've all been through a lot, and we're all still going through a lot. And a couple of writing sessions can't hurt to try to make things better. And the best part, of course, is that while you only need 6 minutes of reading a day to get all of those benefits I've talked about on previous episodes, how much writing do you think you have to do? In order to get the physical and cognitive and emotional benefits of writing, how much do you think you need? You might be thinking, oh my gosh, Stephanie, I don't have an hour a day to write in my notebook to get these benefits. I'm here to tell you, you don't need that. You need just 3 to 4 sessions of 15 to 20 minutes a month in order to start to get these benefits. Now, again, the more you write, the more you will feel them, but it doesn't take a lot in order to get started and feel like you could be making a difference to your body, to your mind, and your soul. Right? So just like I love to ask people in my coaching sessions and in my workshops, which benefit do you need most right now? Are you after those physical benefits? Do you need those cognitive benefits? Or are you really here for the emotional benefits? I want you to say which one would suit you best right now and what would serve you well. I want you to say it out loud. Maybe you're driving, walking the dog, doing the dishes. Maybe you have to whisper it, but put it out there. What benefit do you need? Knowing your why will help you to make this a habit if this is something that you want or think you need to do. That's what I want you to hold on as we move forward, because we're going to talk all about the 5 different ways that you can bring writing into your life, right? In bite sizes or bigger sizes, whatever works for you, so that you can get these benefits in a way that works for you. Okay, so I have developed this kind of 5-tier framework, if you will, that talks about the 5 different kinds of notebooking that I see. Now, of course, frameworks always shift and grow over time as we learn. So I'd love for you to think about these 5 aspects of writing and notebooking, and then let me know what you think at the end of the episode. Are there things I've forgotten? Better words I could use? I would love to keep co-creating this as we move forward in our notebooking practices together. But I do want to start with a little bit of disclaimer, because I'm throwing around some words fairly interchangeably, and I don't think they're the same. I personally prefer the word notebooking when I talk about a writing life, because when I say writing to someone, a lot of people get pretty nervous pretty quickly. Oh, I don't write. I'm not a writer. But you are, right? We write every single day in our lives, which means we are all writers. And when I tell people, but what about the emails and the to-do lists and the quick notes on sticky notes or jotting something down in your calendar? That's writing. So I like to use the word notebooking to encompass this broader idea of what writing is. I don't even really like to use the word journaling, because when I say journaling, it conjures up this practice of getting quiet and reflective and spilling your heart onto the page for 2 or 3 pages every morning, and people get overwhelmed. Notebooking is writing. Notebooking is journaling. They are all some form of writing, but I personally prefer notebooking as the term to make it as accessible and invitational as possible to as many people I can convince to start notebooking. So that said, let's talk about the 5 different kinds of notebooking that you might start. You might start trying it right now in this summer season. First off, I have productive writing, productive notebooking. This is the kind of writing that we all do, but we might not celebrate it or think of it as a writing practice. Things like all the different ways that we write to get things done and make things happen, right? So we may have to-do lists. Some of us have to-do notebooks. We may have a notebook or a Remarkable or a Google Doc for our meeting notes, our work lists, our work projects. We may have paper planners or digital planners that helps us plan our day, plan our dreams, plan a vacation. We may have plain old notebooks where we just keep all of this in one, and we put it there because it's like an extension of our brain. And if we didn't get all of this stuff out of what we need to do and what we need to remember and what we need to plan, well, then we might forget it. That is notebooking. That is an important kind of writing. And if your pen is hitting the paper, you are getting the benefits of doing so. Now, you might be wondering, what if it was voice notes? What if it was typing on the computer? There are benefits to getting out what is on our heart and mind, even if it's just trying to be productive. There are benefits of getting that out of us and onto something external. But the research benefits that I'm talking about today really do come when it's pencil to paper or purple pen to dot grid lined beautiful paper, right? So keep that in mind, that it's all good, but it's even better if we can do it by hand. So a productive kind of writing is just getting a notebook or getting something and helping your brain keep track of things, helping free up your mental space, help to lighten your mental load so that something is on the paper and it's there for you so that you can start to think or dream or wonder or be something else who feels a little bit better, a little more efficient, a little more productive, a little more on top of things. That's a productive kind of notebooking. Now, if we move on to the second kind of notebooking I see, that is more reflective writing. That's where we are purposefully, intentionally writing so that we can think, we can go inward and reflect, we can ponder things, we can grapple with things, we can battle with things in our minds. We're basically just going inward. And we're writing whatever we're writing based on what we feel inside. So if you know about Julia Cameron's morning pages, this is a typical reflective kind of writing. You're writing in response to yourself, right? You're writing about whatever you need to write about that comes up on the page. If you are a Dear Diary kind of person, right, this is a reflective kind of writing. Maybe you write at the end of the day how things went, how you're feeling. You're checking in with yourself. That's reflective. Maybe you call it your journal, where you just write and capture everything. That is another form of this style of writing. And lately, there's a more popular growing aspect to the journaling world where there are sequenced planners, if you will. I'm thinking of Silk and Sonder. I'm thinking of Jenna Kutcher's journal. I'm thinking of Alex Banayan's work. It's where you reflect, but in a short, bite-sized way, like scale 1 to 5. How am I feeling? What's my affirmation of the day? What's my one thing I'm going to do, right? That can be a reflective way to check in with yourself. Now, if you notice, it can also be productive. So all of these aspects of notebooking do beautifully blur into each other. Now, the third kind of notebooking is responsive. And this one is one that I recently added to my framework because I love think tanking with my bookish friends. And this is the kind of writing that we do, obviously, in response to someone or something. So maybe you read a book and you wanted to get some quotes written down, and so you captured them in a notebook. Maybe something on social media sparked you in a positive or a negative way, and you wrote about it in your notebook or your journal. Or maybe you are a prompt kind of gal and you like writing in your notebook to notebook prompts because showing up to a blank page, not knowing what you're going to write about, scares you just a bit. Those are all responsive kinds of writing. You're going to your notebook to respond to something specific. You might have a book journal where you respond to the books that you read. I know some people who have a little podcast notebook where they respond to the podcast they listen to. And yes, I'm holding up my hand here. And of course, the quote notebooks that I mentioned. I love, love, love my quote notebook. And that is a kind of responsive writing because I'm going to the page as a result of doing something, reading the book, and I want to respond and write it down and keep it. So far, we've got productive writing, getting things done, reflective writing, writing to think and go inward, and responsive writing, writing in response to something in our world. The fourth category of notebooking is creative notebooking. And I like to think about this category in two separate ways. One way is that your writing inside the notebook is creative. So you are writing in response to a creative, fun prompt, like what would happen if you woke up with the superpower of your dreams, right? Or maybe you're writing because you're writing a fiction novel, or you're trying to write children's literature. And so you're being more creative about what's going on the page. You're really diving into your skill, your craft, right? You're looking for authors' mentorship on this, and you're having to go in your notebook. And that's often what we might see if it's a typical writer's notebook. But I think there's another side to this creative aspect, and that is just you get creative in whatever writing you're doing. And by creative, I mean you don't just use a pencil. You use different color gel pens. You use stickers. You use washi tape. Always love a good reason to use washi tape. You sketch, you draw, you get ephemera and you tape things in and you tape artifacts in and you have an envelope that's pasted to the back of your notebook that you tuck things in that you want to hang on to. It's more creative. So there's creativity in the writing, but just creativity in the process as well. So again, and when we're thinking what kinds of notebooks, it could be a typical writer's notebook. Maybe you're a scrapbooker. That's creative notebooking. Maybe you have a traveler's journal where you are keeping it wherever you go, right? That could be productive, reflective, responsive, and creative, right? Maybe you have a vision notebook where you just like to write about your dreams and pull quotes and images and paste them in to get you in that high vibe. Maybe you've got a poetry notebook, right? Where you are responding to poetry, but you're also copying down or pasting in poems and then drawing and bringing the mood and the theme to life on the pages. So many ways to get more creative in both your writing and in the process. And now I have the fifth category of notebooking. The fifth category is commemorative notebooking. This is the writing that we're doing to savor and hold on to the memories of our life, big ones and small ones. It's the writing so that you don't forget the things that matter, right? We all think that we're going to remember all that happens to us, and we don't. We need some sort of way to track down those super tiny, in the moment, wonderful things that when you remember them 10 years later because you took out your 5-year journal, you can't believe you took the time to capture. This kind of writing is writing to hold on to what you love. And so that could be all sorts of different ways in a notebook. It could be a planner. If you are a planner kind of person, digital or paper, yes, you are planning out your life to be productive, but you are likely, especially if you are in the planner community, you are likely using your planner to document the good, right? You're also probably being creative with stickers and markers, and you're holding on to things to preserve what your days were like. So yes, you're planning them, and yes, you are preserving them. If you have a 5-year journal or a sentence a day journal, this is commemorative writing. You are writing to commemorate those memories, to hold on to them. My 5-year journal is one of my most favorite notebooks. If you have a gratitude notebook or even a gratitude practice inside a notebook or a planner, this is commemorative writing because you are trying to hang on to all of those nuggets of goodness so that it can fuel you into changing your mindset, and then remember all of the love that you felt later so that you can remember it at that time. And if you're a scrapbooker, you certainly are a commemorative kind of writer as well. So there you have it. Those are my 5 categories, at least as of right now, that I think of when I think of notebooking. And here's the thing. One of these will work for you. I am 100% certain that you are already doing this kind of notebooking, but perhaps didn't give yourself credit for it, didn't think it mattered, didn't think it counted. It does. It matters. It counts. All of it. It matters in getting all of those research-based benefits, and it matters to considering yourself a notebooker or someone who writes. I'm also 100% sure that as I was talking, one of these pieces of writing tugged at your heart a little bit. Like, ooh, I'd want to do that. I'd want to keep my memories. I want to use washi tape. I want a podcast notebook, right? There was something that spoke to you in that list, and I want you to listen to it. I want you to listen to that nudge and just ask yourself, what if I just tried it? What if I just started doing this 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a month? What could happen? What could change? What's the best that could happen, right? The worst thing that happens is you get a little bit of self-care and some me time. And if you decide you don't like that kind of writing, well, then you try a different one. I want to be clear that I do all 5 of these kinds of writing, all 5 in my notebook. But please know, I do not do all of them every single day. I know I am a notebook hoarder and I write in probably 8 notebooks throughout the week, but it is not a daily practice to write in all of them. I write in the one that I need in that moment. I don't let my notebooking take control over me and make me feel bad or less than because I am not writing enough. I'm doing it the other way around, right? You know, that's what I love about reading and writing. They can serve us to feel better and be better and have the kind of life we want to have. So you don't need to do all of these in order to get the benefits. You just need to try one, and you need to try it a couple times and think about where it might fit into your routine. Again, just like reading, maybe it's first thing in the morning. Maybe it's at night. Maybe it's the lunch break. Maybe it's a notebook in your purse for whenever the time presents itself. But there is space for notebooking for every single kind of notebooker. And I'd love for you to just think about that for a bit. And in fact, if you're not driving or walking or washing the dishes, you could go grab any old piece of paper right now. You could sit down and you could try some responsive writing. And you could start at the top and say, Stephanie talked about the 5 kinds of notebooking today, and here's what I'm thinking about it. And just start writing, right? You'd be getting a double whammy. You're doing responsive writing, you're also doing reflective writing, and then hopefully that would turn into productive writing as you decide to make a plan to try a little bit more notebooking this summer. Now, I would love to know which kinds of notebooking you're already doing and which ones are feeling right for you to try. So if you're up for it, you know I want to hear your thoughts. You can head online to alitlife.com and you can find the show notes for this episode and leave me a comment. You can head to your favorite social media platform, find me at AffinitoLit. You can comment on the social post for this episode, or you can send me a direct message. You can always send me an email to stephanieaffinito@gmail.com. And remember, my favorite, you can click on that audio comment button inside your favorite podcast platform. Remember, I also have a Facebook group. So if you'd like to join in there and talk about your thoughts about notebooking and get some inspiration from the group, just head to Facebook, search for Get Literate in the group tab, and I will let you right in. One more thing. I am talking about restorative writing in my restorative reading course this summer. So if you're wondering where to add writing into your life, an easy way might be to pair it with your reading. So we know a lot of research about habit stacking and pairing one habit with another for greater success. And so if you are really trying to grow a restorative reading practice, which I hope you are, and I think you are because you're listening to this podcast, then you can join me this summer inside Grow a Restorative Reading Practice and learn how to pair just a little smidgen of writing to your reading life so that you can start to layer on these benefits. The entire course is self-paced. You can get access to the videos whenever and wherever you want at the pace you would like. And we have multiple connection calls and coaching calls scheduled throughout the summer at different times and different days so that we can come together as a community of readers, and people are adding writing to their daily lives too. So I hope you will join me there, and you can always reach out and I can send you some additional information. We are gearing up for the best summer yet, full of reading and writing. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Get Literate podcast. I hope to see you in all of those places that I mentioned to learn more about your notebooking life and what you're going to try next. Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy reading and writing. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. Plus, if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, bibliotherapy book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking challenges, live events, giveaways, and much, much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing, if you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.